coming through, but I'm conscious that you have places to be and other children to get to school. So I'm just going to introduce Henry from GB Sports Tours. Me and Henry and the boys have worked together a long time now. Sent off some really successful tours throughout the years. Last year we went to Paris, I'm sure you saw on our social media, and some of the boys were lucky enough to go on that trip. We're going to Cardiff with Year 4 this year, so again we've had lots of work with Henry, and the boys actually love the tours. And this year I'm really excited to announce that we are heading off to Holland. So no further ado, I'll hand over to Henry. Thank you, Henry.
Cool. Good morning, my name is Henry, I work for GB Sports. As Mr. Blood said, I think it's our 8th year of doing sports tours for the boys prep. I also work with the girls' school, working their junior tour to Manchester, and their senior long haul, so much so that I've coincided my honeymoon in 3 weeks' time to Barbados with the senior girls. So I just want to emphasise this tour that I'm going to talk about today. It won't be too long, 10-15 minutes, go through a bit about who GB are, nuts and bolts of the tour, and then open up to any questions. This is very much a developmental tour. I'm aware from doing lots of tours for the boys prep, it could be the first of many tours that the boys go out and do, but it could be the only one as well. So the idea is for everyone to get out there. It's not a high performance tour, although we're training at some amazing places. It is for everyone to go and experience 3 nights away from mum and dad, have an amazing time, and play some good sport, hopefully. So the idea is to head out between 17th and 20th of March, and the idea is to head to Holland. A little bit about GB, we were established in 2000 and we run sports tours all around the globe. UK, Mr. Blood said, we've done many a tour for the boys prep within the UK, Europe, and then further afield, long haul. I think the big one here is financial protection. We're ATOL and ABTA protected, so any money that you pay to school and in turn us, if anything does happen to GB between now and the tour going away, you get all your money back. It won't, that's why I put it in. So the tour overview, what we've done previously is the head very kindly lets the boys leave semi-early on the Friday, and then they will head down to Calais for a ferry over, and they will be returning, that should say, on Monday. And that's a 4-day, 3-night tour to Holland, and it's based in Utrecht. Outbound travel on the Friday, coming back on the Monday. One thing I would say is going by coach. The boys won't need a massive amount of stuff, so stick to the 15 kg limit. Imagine they're going on an EasyJet flight. They'll need their school kit and their sports kit, but they won't need loads and loads of stuff when they go away.
I like that.
The accommodation that the boys will be in is the Postilion Hotel, and there will be 2 to 3 to a room, and they will be on the same corridor with the teachers bookending the corridor. We've talked to the hotel and made sure this is the case. I'm sure the boys will be very well behaved. It's a lovely 3-star hotel. There'll be plenty of food, so the tour itself is a full board tour, so that'll include breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The hotel is based about half a kilometre outside Utrecht centre, and the idea is when we get the boys to the hotel that they will have worked so hard in the day doing sightseeing, sporting activities, that they will sleep very well and be very well behaved the next day. The training sessions, as you saw from the first slide, this is advertised as a football and rugby tour. You'll see from the itinerary that I'll put up in a minute that it's mainly going to be based around the football element. Paris was football and rugby, but they were training with 2 professional teams out there. Rugby in Holland, although it's fantastic at grassroots level, there isn't any professional rugby teams out there. So I've decided, and with Mr. Blood, that the 2 training out there will be done at Utrecht. Utrecht, although it's not the biggest name in Holland, I think that almost makes their coaches chuck everything at the kids. We've had some fantastic tours, especially over the summer. We had 3 schools going out, and they all came back with glowing reviews for the coaches at Utrecht. The training complex is fantastic, and it's in the shadow of the stadium. Again, football fixtures, when we're out there, this is something that we really need to work on with Mr. Blood and with the school, getting to know what the boys' standard is and making sure there's appropriate fixtures available. Over the tour, and you'll see from the itinerary, there's 2 football fixtures per side. So depending on the amount of boys sign up, the idea is that they will get as much game time as possible. So it's not just one fixture. I think if we take out 4 or 5 sides, every side will play 2 football fixtures. As well as this, there'll be a rugby fixture against local opposition. And again, this is on the same basis, depending on how many sides we get. There'll be 1 fixture per side. The idea is the boys will have as much game time as possible. It's not all going to be sport. There are some downtime. Excursions planned. There'll be bowling. They'll be going off to Amsterdam and having a tour around the Ajax Stadium tour. Also, there's the potential to go to the club shop there. Sometimes a scary scenario. And then also Efteling theme park, which is a mainstay for a lot of the tours going out with us to Holland, and that is a really nice time for the boys to spend half a day together, not in a sporting environment, to really get to know each other. This is a rough itinerary. Things will change, but this is what we put into place at the moment. So they'll depart school in the morning, we'll make the ferry, and then that evening there will be the first football fixture. As you can see, they kind of hit the ground running next morning. There'll be a 2-hour training session at Utrecht, off to Efteling theme park, and then their first rugby fixture. We're watching at the moment the Eredivisie, which is the professional football fixtures, and I know Mr. Blood at the end will talk about that, but the idea is on every tour that we run, on every tour I run for Surbiton Boys Prep, you get them to see a professional fixture. So we're monitoring that, and hopefully that will be added into the itinerary. Then there'll be the next coaching session, a little bit of downtime, a little bit of free time, whether it's in the hotel or Utrecht, and then it'll be finally off for their second football fixture, followed by bowling. A really action-packed 3 days. The boys will be absolutely knackered, and then hopefully by the time they walk around the Ajax Stadium tour, they'll kind of be like nice zombies walking around, having a fantastic time. Onto the bus, and I'm sure they'll sleep all the way home to the school. And the idea is not to have a horrifically late arrival time back at school. As I said from the initial slides, it's a kind of all singing, all dancing tour. We don't want to add in too many added extras, so it's full board. The only thing they'll need is a bit of money on the first afternoon for a bit of lunch on the ferry, and then it is dinner, breakfast, lunch. The food will be plentiful. Let us know about the dietary requirements. In terms of the rooming list, that is something that GB we stay well away from, because we know it is the hardest thing to get right, so we leave that to the teachers. But I'm sure from all the tour previously there will be an agreement with one of their mates. I'm not going to go through it all, but as I said, it's 2 training sessions, 2 fixtures for football, 1 fixture for rugby, all the excursions, and it should be an action-packed, lovely tour. So that is it from me. I'm aware there may be some questions, so far away.
So what are you going to do to ensure that last fixture, last time in Paris, the rugby was cancelled 2 days before, and the football, one of the teams, will beat our team 14-1. The scale, the standard was not right. So what are you going to do to ensure, 1, that you actually do have some rugby fixtures, and 2, that you're going to get the right standard?
So with Paris, we travelled at a very tricky time. It was the first weekend after COVID that rugby had been played. Also with the ferry departure, I think we missed the ferry on the way out, so the timings were a bit off. And then again, with the football side of things, we need to sit down with Mr. Blood and properly work out the strength of the boys and make sure that there isn't...
Did that not happen last time?
Not to the extent it should have, but we've had the meetings and we're going to work on making sure there's tight fixtures.
Also, I noticed you go to a theme park and then you're going to play rugby. You might be ready to play rugby and then go to the theme park.
Just the way the fixtures are handled, so the fixtures are the things that will go into the tour first, and that is when the clubs can play it. So the way we've done previous tours and many other tours, it's nice for the boys to have a break, otherwise they're going from training to fixture, they'll be absolutely knackered. So theme park in the middle, we want to fit everything into the itinerary. So again, the itinerary is open to change depending on when we get 100% confirmation of the fixtures. But yeah, we wouldn't want to ever put training session fixtures because they're still young.
We want to go to a theme park and then play rugby.
which the idea is 4 days, 3 nights, we want to chuck in as much things as possible. I wouldn't, after doing hundreds and hundreds of these tours, ever put a training session and a fixture together, because I just think the boys lose focus, especially at this age, and it's just a little bit too much. So have a bit of downtime, a few nice rides, and then in the evening refocus for the fixture. But yeah, we're really working on making sure that there are tight fixtures. And it's hard. I think we had 70 odd boys with 7 sides. It's hard, but we need to do better. And I've had a meeting with the head and Mr. Blood about getting better. So.
It's definitely a real pinch point for me and us. You know, it's not necessarily been right in future years, or in terms of last year's Paris wasn't right, it didn't work. Whereas the Year 4 trip to the football tour, some of the fixtures were much more evenly matched, and we had some good fixtures. I think the key thing to note is that the boys did still absolutely love the experience. They came back absolutely brimming, even though they lost, there was still so many smiles on their faces. And actually, a lot of them commented that they learned a hell of a lot more from that experience than they did from if the roles were reversed and they were having to tend them. There was a lot of learning that came from it, but we are definitely looking to try and maximise that fixture opportunity, and like Henry said, it is very, very, that is the first thing that we need to make sure that we get right before anything else. That is definitely our priority, so make sure that's the key for us. Any other questions?
I think it looks like an amazing experience. Can we talk in a little bit more detail about costs? Because if they're staying 2 to 3 to a room in a 3-star hotel, how the costs get into 650 for 3 days?
So, in the travel industry at the moment, we're looking at massively rising costs for our coach travel. So, previously we were looking at, to be brutally honest, 300, 350 pounds a day for a coach. We're now looking at 800, 850 for coach, for fuel, for everything. So, I've worked with Surbiton across not only the boys' prep, the girls' prep, the juniors, the seniors, and I do my best with the clients. And we're suffering the pinch at the moment. We're not charging extra stuff to boost our margins, it's just keeping up with the inflation of all the costs. So I think across most of our packages at the moment, it's looking at 20% on top of what it was previously. So,
if I put that into perspective, we just been quoted 540 for a coach to Legoland, for a trip to Legoland. So you know, the coaches are becoming prohibitively expensive trips, you know, from a day trip.
And that's what we're getting, cards on the table, that's what we're getting Sam, is the coach travel.
How far is it from your from nerdy geography, from the ferry the other side? How long a drive will they be doing the other side?
About 5 hours.
5 hours from the coach to
From
Utrecht?
Calais to
Oh, total.
yeah, so from Calais to Utrecht 5 hours, and then from the school 2.
So just,
The problem, one of the things that we had an issue with at leaving on the ferry was children's visas and their passport, and needing to be, you know, triple checked. So we just need to make sure that what we probably will do is make sure that we've got ample time to, well, which we did actually have ample time, but they held us twice to check those visas. So it's really important. Mr. Blood was chasing visa information from people right up until the last minute. It's really important that we get that paperwork as soon as we possibly can, because it does make a difference then how that sort of forward planning of what time we leave, etc., does make a difference.
Yeah, entry requirements to Holland have been lifted now, so hopefully,
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx it, because we say it can't get worse, something does happen, but there are no entry requirements. So hopefully that will speed things up.
I think quickly back to the cost of things. The cost that was estimated on the letter, that is also based on how many people sign up. So if people sign up, then that cost can be reduced for sure. That's often overestimating, and like Henry did mention, that fixture that we like to add into the tours, there is an additional supplement on that. However, that is honestly one of the best things that they went on. That's always what we talked about. That fixture we went to last year, the ones that we're going to. It's not quite on the same scale, but Year 4's are going to Cardiff, Coventry in a couple of weeks, and I love that. Just trying to sell that one to them. But they do just love that, live sporting experience. The atmosphere, the singing, the chanting. There's no support for. It's just a neutral game. They love it, and that really is the kind of the figuring out that at all. So that potentially is an additional cost once we find out the the final numbers in the schedule for the competition. But I think for us, as Henry said, cards on the table, things are definitely obviously much more expensive now as Henry explained, and we are doing our utmost best to keep the cost down for everyone, as we know how difficult things are at the moment.
So if you remove the theme park element from the tour, then the cost would probably go down as well.
Yeah, you can
It
restart
seems
the
like
room.
cramping too many things.
I think now from my experience with these tours, it's better to keep them busy. Otherwise, it's harder work for us, but also you get bored quite easily. And the last thing I want to do is to have them on a trip to Holland being stuck in a hotel room for a couple of hours. That's just not what I want. So I think we'll all be in agreement on that, to keep them as busy as
You
possible.
could do another rugby fixture.
Potentially, yeah, we could do another rugby fixture, but as you know, rugby isn't as strong in Holland, and so we're...
We also want to watch a 4-day, 3-night trip. Usually we'd look at 2 fixtures over that time, but because I've worked with this school before, we kind of emphasise that fixtures, 4 fixtures in 4 days for any age group, I just think is a little bit too much. So having the downtime is very much part of the sports tour as well. I know from running them, from being on them, having that time with your mates away from the pitch is equally as kind of good for their growth away from the sport anyway. But yeah, if you start taking elements out, the cost can come down, but I think like I said, there is...
Leo's seen it now.
Well, of course, shouldn't have been there. No.
So will you not be, sorry, why not be cheaper?
Because you'd have to get the coach that end, so you have the coach travel in Holland, plus the flight.
The boys actually really enjoyed the ferry
Yeah.
last year as well. That was part of the experience.
Contain fun.
Yeah. Will you be looking at some of the sort of staffing regime and a couple of TV sports and where that from?
Yeah, so we're definitely having a rep from GB Tours as was last year. And again, once we know the full numbers of the sign up, we definitely look at the ratios. And I think last year the group of staff we had was fantastic as well. They really it's great to have that sort of 1 to 8, that real kind of, especially the boys that are going away for the first time. It's really nice to have that kind of person to go to. And the camaraderie between the staff and the boys was fantastic. And even getting some of the boys from the staff from outside of the sports department was really nice to have that as well. So definitely look at that once we know the final numbers. Sure. Any other questions?
How many places are there?
So they're really kind of there's places really for everyone, I suppose, isn't it? We can look to adjust the tour as how many people sign up. We base the costings on sort of 50, 60, 70, and 78 in year 5 and 6. So again, basing that, we'd love to 66 we had last year, and 8 staff. So that 1 to 8 kind of ratios, and whatever we don't want to stop anyone from coming. Like Henry said, we'll start a developmental tour, or all want to experience it, and what the boys speak to now, I'm sure if you talk to them, they'd say the highlight so far would be the sports tour they've been on. They've just absolutely loved it. So also I'm sending out further information. Yeah, and also it's also some parents have mentioned it. It's actually also on Mother's Day, so you get time off for Mother's Day. That's a bonus, I'm sure.
Or you come to Utrecht and on Mother's Day.
I think one of the things that I was nervous because obviously quite a lot of boys hadn't been away, so parents were nervous, genuinely, and I could totally understand that. I was actually wowed by them. They were absolutely incredible. There was barely a crossword the whole time. They were hugely supportive of each other. It was absolutely amazing to see. It was really quite a sort of wow moment watching them. So it definitely is one of those things that's just memory making for them.
Yeah. Thank you again for your time. We'll send over slides again or attach the link. But if you have any questions in the meantime, please do file them away. I'm more than happy to help. And there'll be further information going on in due course. Let's try and secure the places, and hopefully you want the boys to go on it and they want to go. But any questions, please do shout.
Should we just say about late? Last year we had a problem, not with the Paris Tour, but with a couple of the others where parents perhaps had said no, they didn't want to go. and then we got to kind of a month before, and the boys wanted to come, and so in a couple of occasions we could make that work, but actually it is more and more difficult when you've actually nailed down costs and where you're staying. So try to sort of make that decision. It's not 4 weeks before is not any more crucial than 6 months before, really. But I think it's quite important. We had 2 boys who were really disappointed that they couldn't come on residentials, and the week before they decided that they wanted to, and it was really difficult. And they do feel left out then, and they might be absolutely adamant, but you kind of know what their adamant is, and you know whether that's likely to waver. They might feel a bit nervous at first, but actually they just need kind of to make sure that they are absolutely sure that they're going to be fine about not going, because I'd hate to disappoint them at that last minute.
Are you talking to the boys this week or after?
I'm talking about it. Games are fun this afternoon.
Yeah.
So it's a good opportunity for me to kind of open out to them. But obviously, the ultimate decision comes down to you guys. So. Here we go, yeah. 7-7, Henry.
Particularly registered.
Yeah.
On the practicalities of it, just do they not have, if they're paying fixtures all the time, will their sports stuff get washed? Or how many sports kits do they need just in terms of...
No, so again, often they'll just either pack a spare if they have a spare. We won't have any facilities to wash clothes out there. Normally they'll either have sometimes we train in their, any other sports kit. So the training session could be done in a football shirt of their choice or a rugby shirt of their choice, depending on what they want to wear. Obviously conscious that we don't want to be washing kit out there, and I don't, it's easy to not have.
Non-uniform to train. They can wear non-uniform.
Yeah, so once we looked at the finalised itinerary, we would say, like, on this morning, boys, you can wear your own, and we put it in the kit list at the end. Once we send a couple of weeks before, we'd say, pack some additional non-uniform kind of training kit to wear sports uniform. As long as they've got the sports, trainers and the spikes and all the gum shield, depending on the training session. Fully aware that matches, I want them to wear certain kit, but if it's a training session and they've got 3 or 4 in that day, it's not going to be hygienic to wear the same thing all day, so we get opportunities to change it.
Mrs. Welch really quite strict.
Only Arsenal shirts allowed. Exactly. Well, don't do game, guys. Have a good day.